Welcome, everybody. Excited to see you here today. Give it a few minutes just to see if we have any stragglers come in, but just some housekeeping just in case. We want to ensure that you know that you have the Q&A function if you have any questions. We are going to try to address everything that we possibly can within the next hour. Yeah. Right, I think we can get started. But so, firstly, hello. My name is Jasmine Williams. I'm one of the associate directors of Global First Year Programs. I support our global scholars while they are in London. I am try to be a very good point of contact for you and your families should you guys have any questions about anything London at all and your transition into the program. We're super excited to welcome you. So I believe we can go to the next slide. We are going to hear from a lot of my wonderful colleagues from the London campus today, representing their offices and talking about the things that you do and how they will support your students and make sure that they have a really great experience while they're in London. But before that, we do just want to give one note on GDPR. If we can go to the next slide. Oh, excuse me. So today we're going to talk about preparing for departure and visas. We're going to talk about learning in London, a little bit about student support and development, student life in London, living in London, and then some upcoming communications just to make sure that everybody is in the loop. All right, now we can go into our GDPR note. So we always like to start our webinar by mentioning this just because GDPR is a UK policy. So under the General Data Protections Regulation means that our London campus cannot discuss academic or personal circumstances with parent or guardians without the student's explicit written permission to do so. And this is on a case-by-case basis. So anytime that a parent wants to have communication with our London team, the student needs to give their explicit consent, which is why we really recommend that parents, especially if you have any questions, please feel free to email myself or the Global Scholars inbox. We can help you. We are not beholden to GDPR because we do not live in the UK. So we can help you navigate this process as well. Your students will be on ground and able to speak with all of our people on the London campus as well. But parents, we really encourage you to email me and then have a conversation. We can help with whatever you need. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues in visa and departures.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. Hi, everyone. My name's Beatrice, and I'm from the visa team here in London. And today we're going to go through a quick rundown in regards to visas that you may or may not need to come study in the Global Scholars Program in January. So just for a quick introduction, there have been some changes to visa regulations in the UK recently. This means that nationals who previously may not have had to apply for a visa to come study in the UK for the Global Scholars Program now do. And so we just want to make sure that everyone is aware of these changes and what every student needs to do in order to ensure that their journey here is smooth. So just to start, for students that may need the standard visitor visa to come study in the Global Scholars Program, below on the left-hand side of the screen are some of the nationalities. So if you have a passport from one of those nationalities on the left-hand side, you will need to apply for a standard visitor visa, and we will go through that process soon. And on the right-hand side, we have nationalities that will need to apply for an ETA to come study in the Global Scholars Program. Again, there have been some changes. So for example, citizens of the United States previously did not have to apply for any type of visa to come study in the Global Scholars Program, but now that UKVI has made that change, they now do have to apply for an ETA. Just another quick note, EU nationals do not have to apply for an SVV or an ETA for Global Scholars in January 2025. And this is because for EU nationals, the ETA will only come into effect on the 2nd of April 2025. Great. So for the ETA, which is the Electronic Travel Authorization Application process. So one thing we want to make very clear is that you only need to apply for an ETA if you are one of the nationalities mentioned in the previous slide, and you are arriving in the UK on or after the 8th of January of 2025. If you know that you will be arriving in the UK on or after the 8th of January, then you will be able to apply for the ETA beginning on the 27th of November of this year. So in order to apply, you will need to apply on the UK ETA app or online on the link in the screen. It costs £10, so that's British pounds, and it generally takes about 3 working days to receive your ETA. And the way that you will receive this will be as an email confirmation that you will get to the email that you used to sign up if your application has been approved. So your ETA is electronically linked to the passport that you applied with. That means that you must use the same passport to travel in the UK and to enter at the airport or at the, whichever port of entry you use to enter the UK, please ensure that you're using the same passport that you applied for your ETA with. And you can find more information by logging into the UKVI website or the link above. There is also an ETA guide that is available on your application status check account. Please make sure that you read this before you make your application. It has a lot of information that will be useful to you during your application. And just a few notes, all students are required to upload both their passport and their flight details to the application status check by the 11th of November. And independent travelers should make sure that they upload their ETA or standard visitor visa to the application status check by the 15th of December. So for the standard visitor visa application process, so the nationalities that we went through earlier, some of them will need to apply for a standard visitor visa instead of an ETA. Again, the guides on your application status check will be very useful if you need to revisit whether the nationality that you have requires either an SVV or an ETA. So a standard visitor visa costs £115 for up to 6 months. The earliest you can apply is 3 months before you travel to the UK. So for example, if you were planning to arrive in the UK on the 8th of January of 2025, you would be able to make your application beginning on the 9th of October of 2024. And again, there is a link there that you can copy right into your browser, and you will go into the form where you can apply for the standard visitor visa. To apply, you must prove that you've been accepted onto a program provided by an accredited UK institution, and you will find this in your application status check. It is provided by us, and also prove that the program is no more than 6 months long, which again, I believe would be mentioned in that letter that you will get in your application status check that you would use for your application. As part of the online application process, you will need to book an appointment at a visa application center for standard visitor visa applications. So just want to make it clear, if you will be applying for an ETA and you are one of the ETA eligible nationalities, you do not have to attend or book an appointment at an in-person visa application center. This is just for students who will need to apply for a standard visitor visa. And please allow enough time to attend your appointment to ensure that you get the standard visitor visa in time for the start of the course. And just again, another reminder, all students are required, again, their passport and flight details to application status check by 11th of November, and either your ETA or your standard visitor visa should be uploaded by the 15th of December. And thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. My name is Riyukta Raghunath, and I am the Director of Global Experience Programs here in London, and I'm here to talk to you a little about what learning in London looks like. Next slide, please. Thank you. So starting off strong with the semester structure. So these are some key dates for you to keep in mind. So we have Welcome Week, which is the first week that you will be here. It will include sort of orientation activities, and you'll do your visa checks, and you'll sort of get familiar with the campus and so on. So that happens between the 8th and 12th of January. It says week 18 over there because we start counting our weeks from the fall semester. So when you move to the spring semester, we sort of just continue. So that's week 0 or week 18. The first day of classes will be on the 13th of Jan. And you have add drop until the 21st of January. So if any of you want to add or drop a class, please make sure that you speak to your London advisor. 24th to the 28th of February is what we call a revision week. So that means there will be no classes, and the revision week comes right before your midterm week, which is between the 3rd and the 7th of March. There's an Easter break in April, so 14th to the 25th of April. You have an Easter break, which also doubles up as a revision week because you've got 2 weeks, and then you have your final exam week. And the last week of classes will be on the 2nd of May. Next slide, please. So the key thing for you to know is that your Global Scholars Program is integrated with Northeastern Boston curriculum. And what that means is that you will be doing the same courses, but the key difference will be that these courses are accredited in the UK. So that means these will be UK courses for UK credits, even though they have equivalencies with the courses that run in Boston. What this essentially means for you is that there will be some differences. So you will be dealing with the with the UK higher education system, which is slightly, I don't want to say very, but slightly different from the US higher education system or the system that you're used to. So some of the key differences that I'd like to highlight to you, the first thing is the grading system. So in the UK, we actually use numerical grades, but worry not, it will be translated into letter grades and count into your GPA when you see it. So on your UK Canvas sites where you'll actually see your grades, you'll see them as numerical grades, but when they go into your Boston transcripts, they will actually be translated into letter grades. We also have a handy conversion chart, which I'm going to show you in a second, that will help you understand what a numerical grade means, because you'll see what it translates to as a letter grade. We have something called a moderation process, so which means feedback and marks. You will not get back as quickly as you usually do in the US education system. So here it takes about 28 days before you actually get feedback and marks. That's because we have a rigorous moderation process, which essentially means that your first marker will mark your essays, and then there is an internal reviewer who will moderate the essays, and then sometimes it also goes to an external. This is just to make sure that there's no bias or there's no bias in marking and that everything is consistent and fair. We also have a lot of our processes that are centralized. You're used to having extensions and late penalty. You're not used to having late penalties, and extensions are usually, you can usually just ask your instructor for them. But here in the UK, everything is centralized, which means you have to fill out an extension form to ask for extensions. And if your assignment is late, there will be late penalties that apply and so on. Attendance is also monitored here in the UK. You will receive all details when you come here on site. You'll have an orientation here, so try not to worry about it for now. Next slide, please. That is the conversion chart. So as I said, you'll see that the London grade is in numbers, and this conversion chart will sort of help you gauge where you are. One thing I do want to point out here is in London, anything between 70 and 100 translates to an A. And I want to highlight this because very often students really worry. So they get an essay back and they've got 72 and they think that's the end of the world, but it's not, because that actually translates to an A. So I tend to tell students to think about the numerical grades and the difference between letter grades and numerical grades as the temperature. So we calculate our temperature here in Celsius and you do in Fahrenheit. So it's the same sort of difference. So a 72 here is actually an A. So it's good. Thank you. Next slide, please. Studying in London. So what your typical classroom looks like, most of your classes will have about 20 to about 35 students in a class, except some STEM courses where you'll have larger lectures and then you'll break out into smaller groups. Experiential learning, just like all the Northeastern campuses, is the center of what we do here in London. So your courses will include experiential learning opportunities. Some courses will also include site visits that will take place either during class time, or you'll have an evening co-curricular, as we call it, which will be a trip to watch a play in Shakespeare's Globe. You'll also have some self-guided visits. So these will just be examples of things that you do over the weekend that will relate to learning that will be picked up in class. This is also true of your global inquiry courses. So if you are on a global inquiry course, be sure that you will have experiential learning sort of embedded in the course. Your courses will also have guest lectures, case studies. We'll talk about real world challenges, impact challenges, and so on. In terms of textbooks and course materials, everything should be made available to you via your Canvas sites. But if you have a textbook for a particular course, you will have the chance to purchase this during Welcome Week. You also have access to Northeastern's electronic library resource, but will also have access to local London libraries like the City of London. And we also have an in-house reference collection that you will be able to access. In terms of workload, all of your classes are typically 3 hours a week. So it's broken down into two classes, 1.5 hours each. And if you are registered on a STEM course, then you'll have a lab, which is additional to that. So you should plan for those 3 hours so 3 hours will be contact hours that'll happen in the week. And then you should also plan for an additional 2 hours of work outside of contact time, which is sort of self-study work that you will be expected to do per course per contact hour. And I think that brings me to the last of my slides. So I'm going to hand over to Maya to talk about academic support.
Hiya, I'm Maya Leonard, and I'm the lead academic advisor of the mobility for the mobility programs here in London. So the academic support team is comprised of specialized tutors and academic advisors. As a global scholar, you've probably already worked with an academic advisor. But here in London, our services include giving guidance on time management, organization, note-taking and active listening, studying tips, and even guidance on our academic policies and more. We also help students select courses, so you may have met with an academic advisor here in London already about your spring course selections. And we also help aid in your transition from London to Boston. While you are here in London, your assigned advisor should be your first point of contact for all things academic, so please reach out to them first instead of attempting to contact a Boston advisor or your current Oakland advisor. And then, as I previously stated, we also have specialized tutors on our team. So we have learning differences advisors or specific learning differences advisors who specialize in supporting students who are neurodiverse or who have learning differences. We also have an English and academic writing advisor. This tutor provides support to students in developing their academic English skills. And throughout the semester, she hosts a variety of workshops that hone in on academic English skills. And then finally, we also have math tutors who provide one-to-one support and even group sessions to any students who are taking math courses such as Calculus 1, 2, or even Calculus for Business. Next slide. So now for some important reminders and FAQs. So as you hopefully all know, the spring course selection process is currently happening. You should have received an initial email about the course selection process on the 16th of October. Please refer to that email or our Canvas page for more information. The course selection form will close on the 15th of November at 5 p.m. GMT, so that's 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, your guys' time zone in Oakland. If you've not submitted your form, please do so as soon as possible. Once again, the form closes on the 15th. If you do not submit the form by the 15th of November, your advisor will just select classes for you. And then just a quick reminder about transfer credits. Make sure that you have officially reported your credit. If you have any questions or concerns about transferring credit in, please reach out to an academic advisor on your current campus. If you want to check that your credit has been received, please email the transfer credit team, and their email is on the screen. You can email them directly to see if the credit has gone through. And if you currently need to alter your submitted form, please contact your London academic advisor before the 15th of November to make changes. After the 15th of November, we will not be accepting any requests for changes to your course selection form, to your course registration. We won't be able to make any changes until the first day of classes, which is the Monday, the 13th of January. You'll receive more information about add drop in future emails, and I really highly suggest reading through our ad drop policy so you're aware of the acceptable reasons to request an ad drop change. And also, I just want to note that requesting a change during ad drop does not guarantee that your request will be accepted. You'll be able to meet with your advisor and to talk about it with them more. So, you should have also received or you should soon be receiving an email regarding online enrollment. When you are completing your online enrollment, you'll be able to see what courses you're registered for. We don't send out any other type of confirmation of your official registered classes, so please make sure when you're doing your online enrollment, you check and see what classes you're registered for. As for your timetable or your schedule, you will receive that during orientation in London. We cannot provide it before your arrival. The timetable will show you when and where your lectures and or labs will take place. And then some of you may have a hold on your account. This is just to stop you from registering for classes on Boston's campus in the spring semester. So don't worry if you see some like a scholar's hold on your account. And so finally, check your Husky email daily. It's how we communicate to you in London. It's how Boston communicates with you. It's really important that you are checking it regularly. So thank you for your time, and I'm going to pass it over to student support and development. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's Chloe and I'm a student support coordinator and my role sits within student support and development on the campus in London. Next slide, please. So student support, the team is built up of student support coordinators like myself, student wellbeing coordinators and mental health advisors. The student support team are here to help students navigate the ups and downs of life whilst at university. We can help with general advice and support with personal issues, well-being and mental health support, support with disability and learning support, also budget advice, and we are there just for to have somebody to talk to. We can also direct student to different wellbeing resources such as Find at Northeastern, Spectrum Life, which is a student assistance program which is available 24/7, 365 days of the year. Next slide, please. The student support team are also responsible for arranging any reasonable adjustments for students. You might know them as accommodations. So any adjustments that students might need in their classroom, for exams, for coursework. For any students that haven't already registered with the Disability Access Services in Boston, please do so if you will be requiring any reasonable adjustments in London. For those that have also already registered, we will be reaching out to students the week commencing the 18th of November. You will need to attend an online meeting with somebody from student support, and we will go through what reasonable adjustments you can have for your time here in London. Any reasonable adjustments need to be agreed with the student support team by January the 24th to ensure that any adjustments are in place for midterm assessments. If you have any questions about what reasonable adjustments might look like here in London or any questions about the process, you can email us at studentsupport@nulondon.ac.uk. Thank you. I'll pass over to my colleague in Student Life now.
Hi there, my name is Kate Ravi and I am one of the Student Life team. We can go to the next slide. So the Student Life team look after some of the extracurricular activities in London while you're here. So promoting kind of students, building the community, leadership, encouraging personal development, and we provide a calendar of activities outside of the classroom for the students to be a part of. We've included the QR code there for our Instagram, so if you'd like to follow that, that's going to give you some idea of types of things that we might do. And we work with the Student Voice and the Student Union as well, so we'll talk a little bit about that later on. And apart from the Instagram, we also have a newsletter which we send out to students, so I think you'll be reminded throughout this webinar. And as you already know, checking your emails is vitally important if you want to stay informed about everything that's going on at the university. Next slide, please. I think Welcome Week has been mentioned briefly, but as you, I hope, know already, you'll be arriving on Wednesday, the 8th of January to London. And this is just a bit of an idea of what your week might look like. We will obviously send more information in kind of mid to late December. You'll receive some more information about your Welcome Week, but day one is the process, get visa checks and enrollment, so get those things out of the way, the important parts. We then have academic workshops where you meet some of the faculty and you learn a little bit more about studying in London. And then following on from that, we organise some tourist activities and some events to, again, build on that community. I know a lot of you students have already formed your groups, but you're also going to be mixing with London scholars in London and also our local students in London. So it's a chance for you to meet some other people during those weeks of welcome, as we call it, so the weeks following on from your arrival. And we've just given some examples of things that you might be doing during those first few weeks. And obviously the pictures there are London in the sun, and we hope that you get to experience that in your first few weeks as well. It might be slightly chillier than in those pictures. Next slide. Thank you. And as I mentioned, there's events and excursions throughout your time in London. So some of them might be part of your courses or of your academic course, and they're called co-curriculars, and some of them are extracurriculars. So it might involve a trip to a musical or day trips to some of our cities or towns just outside London, so Cambridge or Brighton. Some of the things that we've done in the past are on here, so Harry Potter studios, trips to the football, so various things to look forward to during your time in London. Next slide, please. I mentioned briefly about our student union. You will meet them during Welcome Week. They'll do a lot of activities and events in order for you to meet them and get to know them. They're a very, very active community on campus. There's lots of events that they organise that are fantastic. And then we also have our sports clubs as well. So if you have any, if you want to do a bit more research on that, I would suggest that you look up the union website, and we can share that link. I'll put it in the chat in a minute so we can share that link so you can get an idea of the different sports clubs and societies that we have on campus. Next slide. A little bit about arrivals. For those that are travelling on group flights, you will be arriving into London on the 8th of January. If you can go to the next slide as well, Laurie, thank you. You will be arriving into Heathrow, and you will be travelling by public transport to your accommodation. So you will travel on the Elizabeth line, and your luggage will be transferred to your accommodations from Heathrow. So we're trying to help in that transition to your accommodation so you don't have to lug all your luggage on the train. Please be mindful that we have a 2-suitcase maximum on our luggage transfer. So pack as light as you can. We want to make sure that you can take advantage of the luggage transfer, and to be honest, you don't need more than that in your rooms anyway. So 2 luggage, and as I say, if you're on a group flight, that is accounted for. If you're not on a group flight and you're an individual traveller, you will have received an individual traveller form to complete, and you could opt into the luggage transfer. That deadline has already passed. So hopefully you've seen all that and you've signed up to it if it's something that you wanted to take part in. The luggage transfer and the support for travel is only available on Wednesday, the 8th of January, during the times of the group flights. If you have any questions, our email will be at the end. Feel free to email Student Life if you do have any questions about that. Next slide. Just a little bit of information about some services while you're here. we use something called an Oyster Card in London for travel. You will, as a global scholar, be given an Oyster Card, and that will allow you to travel for free in zones 1 and 2 while you are here in London. That will give you access to the underground, also known as the tube, the bus, and our overground rail system. If you travel outside of zone 2, that cost will be incurred by yourself, so you have to just add money onto your Oyster Card. Very easy to do, very straightforward. You will find out more information about your Oyster Card when you get here, but you have to register it and make sure it's assigned to you. We don't want you to lose it. It's a very expensive mode of travel. As you can imagine, London's an expensive city. So we just want to make sure that you are catered for in terms of your travel, but you must look after the card. Mobile phones, we need to make sure that you have a working phone while you're here. You can obviously stick with your US call plan as long as you have a good option with them to have international calls and connection. Otherwise, you may want to switch to a UK SIM while you're here. We provide some examples of phone providers there. Many of them you can order SIM cards online or organize. I know you get SIM-free options now as well, so you can look into those pre-arrival. And then the final thing is about banking. Again, continue to use your US card if it has a good system where you can tap overseas and you won't get charged. If you're going to be charged for every transaction, we would suggest to look at getting yourself set up with an international bank card. So Monzo, Revolut, and Wise are some cards that we recommend. They're easy to set up and you can transfer money easily between different currencies. And finally, sorry, the QR code there is for a transport app called City Mapper that we all use in London. No matter how long you've lived in London, you use City Mapper. It helps you plan out your journeys from A to B on all modes of transport, including walking, and gives you the best and quickest route to get places. So I think really important that you have that downloaded on your phone and ready to go for arrival. Next slide, please. Oh, just a quick thing, we've created a little London guide with some key information for your arrival. Again, we will be sharing these slides with you and the video, so you can get them, these QR codes again, but if you can scan and want to, that'll just give you a little kind of a mini guide to London from our team. Next slide. And I'm going to pass over now to the Res Live team. Thank you very much.
Yes, hello everybody. Yes, my name is Patrick Tatarian. So I'm one of the residence life supervisors here at Northeastern University London, and I'm just going to go over what it's like, what experience is going to be like living in London. So next slide, please. Thank you. So as a global scholar, you will be assigned one of 2 residence halls. These are Hugo the Curve and Scape Shoreditch. So just give a bit of a background on each hall. Next slide, please. So Hugo the Curve, it's in the area known as Whitechapel, but it's very close to the area called Aldgate. And local features of the area include Whitechapel Station, very well-connected train station on the Elizabeth line, Whitechapel Gallery, which shows modern art, the Genesis Cinema, which is a very affordable independent cinema that does very good rates, as well as Spitalfields Market and Brick Lane on your doorstep. So plenty of food and trinkets for you. So the kind of rooms you'll be assigned are either a studio or an ensuite. I will explain what these are later on. There is a slide about these, but you will be assigned one of these. And some facilities of the building include a games area, a very large cinema room, which is very cozy, a copy station for you to make stuff, and a communal kitchen, as well as plenty of social and study spaces throughout the building, and an on-site gym. So next slide, please. Now, Escape Shoreditch, you are in the area known as Shoreditch, very close to Old Street Station on the Northern Line, also quite close to Shoreditch High Street, Box Park, and Columbia Road Flower Market, for those who like their flowers and their plants. So this building only has studio rooms. Again, I'll explain what this is later on. And this building also contains a gym, a communal kitchen and lounge area, plenty of study spaces and social spaces. Again, a cinema room too, with nice company beanbags. and a ground floor lounge as well. So next slide, please. So just going over the two different types of rooms, as well as what you can expect from the kitchens in your rooms. So like I said, we've got two types of rooms that you'll be assigned to. You're going to either have a studio or an ensuite. Now, a studio is basically like a studio apartment, but very small. It's like a one room. So that one, you have your own self-contained space, not shared with anyone. So it's just your own room by yourself. You will have your own private bedroom, private kitchen, like there's a little kitchenette, and a private bathroom. There's basically one student per unit in a studio. It's basically your own self-contained space. And then an ensuite room, in this case, again, you have your own private bedroom, your own private bathroom, but you have a shared kitchen and communal space. Now, en suites are typically clustered around sort of 5 to 7 students. These are only in Yugo the Curve. So this one is the option for those who are sort of want to share a bit more people, but also have their own space. So you will still have your own bedroom and bathroom, which for many people is quite important, but you'll be sharing a little bit of a social space. So you have that as well. Now, kitchens tend to be fairly standard across the board, across all sites. So each kitchen has a 2-ring stovetop, a combination microwave and grill, and a fridge freezer combination, so under counter one. Each room has a kitchen and a bedding pack as well. So kitchen packs include pans, pots and pans, dishware, so plates, bowls, etc., cutlery, and various cooking utensils that you could need for cooking. There's also a bedding pack as well. So a bedding pack also includes a couple pillows, a comforter, or as a duvet, and bed sheets as well. So you can fully make sure that your bed is there. So your bed will be made as well when you arrive. So next slide, please. So just a little bit of sort of a go through in terms of what the room is set up and what is and what isn't included. So like I mentioned, you have a study area with a desk and chair. This is fairly standard across all the rooms. You'll have a closet with storage space. I must stress, guys, this is a closet and not a walk-in wardrobe. So please be sensible with what you bring. The space is there, but not for a huge amount of stuff. And like I mentioned, you have a bedding pack that includes comforters, pillows, and a linen packet as well. And also the kitchen pack you mentioned as well. And now, take note of this. This is very important. What isn't included are towels and bath mats. So please get these before you arrive, pack them before you arrive. You can purchase them when you're here, but it's better to have them now once you get them. We also do not include small appliances. So these are things like toasters, kettles, air fryers, etc. If you do want to have these, you can, but you'll need to purchase these yourself. Just be aware of that. The next thing is cleaning supplies. Now, again, we do expect you to keep your room clean and tidy, but again, please make sure you're aware that you will need to purchase your own cleaning supplies. These are fairly affordable and can be found in all supermarkets. And this is the big one. There is no air conditioning. So be aware of this. Buildings in the UK, air conditioning is not very common, particularly in residential buildings. Now, I will say you are coming to the UK from January to April. It's not going to get warm enough for you to need air conditioning. I can tell you now the current temperature is about 10 degrees Celsius. That's about 50 in Fahrenheit. You're not going to need air conditioning. It's not going to get warm enough for you to require it. There is heating, however, so do be aware your room will be warm, but you do not need there is no air conditioning. So be aware of that. Now, what all residences do have, and this is standard across the board, is 24/7 on-site staff. So each residence hall has their own dedicated staff that were there 24/7. This includes night security, so you will be safe even at nighttime. All residents have on-site gyms, communal study and social spaces, and like I said, security service as well. So at night there is security there that can assist you if need be. All residents also have laundry rooms. This is more like a laundromat, so just be aware of that. Bicycle storage, and also a maintenance team. If there's any sort of maintenance requirements that your room needs, there is a maintenance team that can come and fix things. Right, next slide, please. Okay, so just to give a bit of background about the team I represent. So I represent the Residence Life team. And Residence Life is here effectively to help you settle into London and build an inclusive and supportive community for you. This is there to basically help you appreciate what you have around you in London, learn a bit more about London, but also make friends with other students, have events in the residence halls, and sort of just build a community together whilst you spend your time overseas. Now, one of the most important things that we have at the Residence Life team is your Residence Life coordinator. So This is very similar to an RA, for those who know, but these are full-time professional living staff members, and they also serve as part of an on-call emergency service if you need it. So your residence life coordinator will be in touch before you arrive. They will have their own sort of know before you go webinar. And effectively, they will also be very sort of adamant on you making sure you pay attention to your emails, because that's how they reach you most. So again, guys, I know we keep saying this, but please check your emails, because your residence life coordinator will be reaching out to you soon on your emails. To be aware of that. RLCs are there to basically be your support. They're to provide mentorship and guidance to you, and basically provide you with any sort of assistance that you need, including signposting and advice should you need it. But importantly, they also serve as part of an on-call emergency rotation. So 24/7 during term time, we have an emergency phone, which we will distribute to all students before they arrive. I must stress this line is only for student use, as we are not allowed to talk to parents due to GDPR rules, which we mentioned prior in the presentation. Now, that if a student has an emergency of any kind, if they call that line, a member of our team will pick up and assist. And these can include things such as making sure that they are safe, escorting to the hospital if it's a medical emergency, and so on. Now, one thing we also tend to do quite a lot of is events in the residence halls. So these are mostly focused on building community and in much smaller groups than what student life do. So some of the examples of what we do tend to be things like mixers, dinners, sip and paint, movie nights, coffee club, which is like where students go to a coffee shop to study and sort of get to know each other. And we've also done things such like sports based, such as football tournaments and table tennis tournaments as well. If you want to know what we get up to, please scan the QR code you see on the left-hand side there. That takes you direct to our Instagram, and we provide very regular updates about what we do and what you can learn more about what you do. So please take your phone and scan that, guys. Please follow us. We need the clout. You know, our RLCs are trying very hard to become influencers, guys. So please give them the support. Right, next slide, please. Okay, so this slide is very important. So please pay attention. I appreciate that we are sort of have been sort of here for a while, but this is a very, very important slide. What to bring and what not to bring. So first things first, raincoats and appropriate shoes. You're going to be here from January to April. It will rain. And it might rain for part of the day. It might be sunny for another part of the day. The weather in the UK is infamously unpredictable and variable. So make sure you bring appropriate clothing that you can layer up, as it could be a day where it starts very freezing cold and then finishes quite warm. Make sure you bring appropriate waterproof clothing, because it will rain, raincoats, umbrellas, etc. And then this one's very important as well. Medication. Please bring enough medication to last the semester. You cannot ship medication after the fact. So make sure you have enough with you to last the duration of your stay. This is very important, as it's very difficult to get a hold of medication once you've got here. So make sure you bring enough. If you do have any concerns about medication, though, student support and development can assist you if need be. The next thing is make sure you bring adapters, appropriate adapters. Just be advised, the UK voltage is about twice that of the US. I think we run at about 240 volts. So make sure you bring appropriate adapters with voltage converters if you're planning on running heavy appliances, such as hair dryers, etc. Generally, we advise you to purchase those here because they're more compatible, but also bring adapters, otherwise you won't be able to charge your devices. And then the last thing is, of course, some sentimental items, maybe some photos of your friends and family, mum and dad, your favorite dog, your favorite cat, etc. Just to make your life a little bit more comfortable as you're here. Your room is yours, and you are welcome to sort of have plenty of sentimental items and decorations while you can do. Just a reminder, like we've lectured you about before, bring only 2 suitcases. This is important, especially if you are using the luggage transfer service. We can only bring 2 large suitcases with you on that service. That's excluding a carry-on. So if you have 2 large suitcases and a carry-on, you're golden. If you want to bring more, just be advised we cannot take more, so you will have to make your own way with that luggage. So be aware of that. Right. Next part. This is more important, and you need to be very, very vigilant about this. What not to bring. So anything you see on the right-hand side in the red, if you have that on you and you're found with that on you, you will receive a free ride in the back of a police car and a complimentary pair of handcuffs. All of these are prohibited and illegal. So make sure, first things first, Weapons and knives. Do not bring any personal knives into the UK. It is illegal and they are considered offensive weapons. So any knives that are longer than 3 inches in a public place is illegal and you are not allowed to carry this. The same goes for firearms and ammunition. This is strictly prohibited. Do not bring it. Next, mace and or pepper spray. Again, this is considered in the UK to be an offensive weapon. Again, if you are found this, it is illegal to be in possession of it and you do run the risk of arrest. So do not bring mace or pepper spray. And then finally, controlled substances. So drugs, marijuana, etc. Guys, you are not Snoop Dogg. You will not be smoking weed every day. It is illegal in the UK. Do not bring it. Right. And I'm just going to go, if you can go to the next slide, please. So we'll pass you on to Jasmine. She's going to talk a bit more about prohibited items and just give a bit more clarity on that.
Thanks, Patrick. Yes, so this is probably one of the most important things today. We really encourage you to have a long conversation, students with your parents, parents with your students. Being a part of this program, we are beholden to local laws. So that is the institution, that is the student, that is if you have any visitors. So we really encourage you to review them closely, just to, as there are a lot of differences between the US and the UK. So, and we also like to have the reminder that students there are 18. Because they are 18, they will be able to drink. They will be able to go to a bar or pub. They will be able to go to a club. So we really encourage you to have a conversation about what this looks like, how to make responsible decisions, and how to ensure that you are having a safe, fun time in London as a family as well. But then also we have our Res Life staff and our other friends on campus that can help you as well. So we encourage you to scan these QR codes, look at this link. The session will be emailed after the recording, so you can look at them there as well. But we encourage you to look at these prohibited items very carefully. We can go to the next slide. So in terms of health insurance and medical concerns, we are able to support students through this. So we encourage you, again, to look at this very closely. And then if you Google Northeastern University Global Scholars medical insurance, there is information on our website as well. So this is some of the stuff that we can help with. We can help students meet with a general provider if they are ever not feeling well, if there is ever an emergency and they need to go to an ER or have urgent care. And then we also have our GSSN network. So that's our global student safety support network. So that is a 24/7 line accessible to students and parents if the student is ever in a place where they need to find a doctor or they aren't feeling well and they don't know the steps to take. That line is always open and they can help students get into a doctor, get to an emergency room, get to urgent care, and they do it in a timely fashion as well, because we know that there are some concerns about getting an appointment with a GP. We can help with that as well. We can go to the next slide. All right, these are also some just good resources to have, just traveler information and safety information, because again, we really do value the safety of students. We prioritize it. So we want to make sure that they are having a safe, fun time in London. So we recommend looking at all the travel advisories. So just being aware of your surroundings as a tourist, follow the instructions of local authorities, and then monitoring local media or breaking events, and make sure that all settings are adjusted so that you are getting local media and events as well. Making sure that you have these numbers saved. So in emergency, it's 999. That's the UK equivalent of 911. And then 112. That's the EU equivalent of 911. And then also the Traveler's Health site, which has a lot of great information in terms of health notices, vaccines and medicine, non-vaccine preventable diseases, and more. So again, we really encourage you that as a family, you review this very closely to ensure that you have all of the information to have a safe, fun time in London. All right, we can go to the next slide. All right, so in terms of upcoming communication, some of these have passed. They're upcoming really quickly. We are getting into the throes of our housing application process, which is closing in the coming weeks. You will be receiving an email from our registry and online enrollment to help with your transition into London as well. You'll be getting your room allocations and your residence life introductions. The big one we want to highlight is the Know Before You Go email. You did get one before you went to Oakland, so you will get one before you go to London as well. This just has all the helpful information that you need to make your arrivals as smooth as possible, including where to meet our student life team at Heathrow when you arrive, where the address is for the residence hall. So there's a lot. We recommend you read it very carefully. You'll also get some Welcome Week newsletters and then our first bi-weekly newsletter. We can go to the next slide. And then lastly, stay in touch. Again, my name is Jasmine Williams. I'm the Associate Director for Global Network First Year Programs. I want to be a very good point of contact for you guys. And I know we did have some latecomers, so I want to reiterate GDPR. So GDPR is a law within the UK that if a parent wants to speak to our London staff, they need the student's explicit consent in writing each and every time. So it's similar to FERPA in the US that we have here. In FERPA, you can do a blanket waiver. There is no blanket waiver for GDPR. So each time a family member or anybody who is not the student wants to speak to somebody on our London campus, we do need the student's written and explicit consent. I do not live in the UK, therefore I am not beholden to GDPR. So parents, please feel free to email me if you have any questions, comments, and concerns about anything, and I can help you navigate the processes as well. So we really encourage you, please stay in contact if you need anything at all. Yeah, the next slide. I believe that's it. So thank you so much for joining us today. It was really nice to speak with you all. If you have any other questions, you have your email, but other than that, please enjoy the rest of your day.